Yo, Wesley Stewart, you won the giveaway from last week's video. Enjoy your trending comics list. Comic fam, another week, another list of the trending books in the comic market. And I'm at the table virtually with an Overstreet price guide advisor, Russ Bright. How you feeling?
Tom, I am honestly a little bit stressed about this, but I am here for the list this week. We did not get our comics until 48 hours after we expected them, and a bunch of them made the list this week. This is crazy.
With everyone on the West Coast that I've talked to struggling this week because of delays and problems with Diamond, well, we have a perfect storm because we have news as well as speculation happening that's driven a number of comics on this list way up. Hit that subscribe button, slap that like button. You know we have a giveaway at the end of the video, and let's start them off at the list at number 10 with a Bronze Age key that I think is underrated and is being spec'd on for reasons unknown.
Number 10 on the list this week, we have All-Star Comics number 58. First appearance of Power Girl. This is a beautiful cover. This is a beautiful book. And again, one of those underrated bronze keys, currently selling for $150 this week.
This book is seeing a $1,500 high sale for a CGC 9.8. And that record was broken back in November. And we haven't heard anything prior to that or even since then that would give reason to why over this last quarter, there's been over 110 separate sales on eBay alone for this comic book. And in this last 7 days, a 400% increase in copies sold. But people love Power Girl. I personally dig her more than Supergirl.
Well, Tom, Power Girl is basically the Supergirl of Earth 2. And that's probably why she doesn't get as much love as people think they do. But I can tell you that one of my customers actually brought to my attention a Darwin Cook cover that I had missed, where she's holding a mirror that says, "Objects reflecting in mirrors should grow up and move on." Now, if you're a fan of Power Girl, you probably already know about these amazing Frank Cho covers, but he seems to be doing Power Girl sketch covers constantly. They are all over the internet and they are all very, very funny.
And I think that right there is one of the biggest reasons that this fandom is being kept so alive is because Frank Cho, his ability to do cross-hatching is unlike anyone in this industry. And actually, a great segue to number 9 on the list. We have Iron Man number 5, the Hellcat variant. This is a 1 in 25 Frank Cho cover that deserves the attention that it's giving. This thing is glorious, going for $55 average sales, and it's climbing. We saw a high sale of $80 over the last couple days.
Now, one of the things that sets Frank Cho apart from other artists is his shading. He has so much depth and feeling to his characters, and I really, really love knowing that every time I see him draw in a video, he's doing it with a ballpoint pen. Other artists are going for really expensive, really crazy type of pens, and I'm watching him do basically with a Bic what other artists can't. He really just wields his tools better.
It's mesmerizing, comic fam. You have to follow him on Instagram. And here's the quote about this very variant. He said, "It was a fun cover to draw since I've never drawn Hellcat before." This is the first Frank Cho Hellcat, by the way. And then he also said, "I burned through one Bic ballpoint pen cross-hatching the hell out of her." That's right. A whole pen was devoted to this one cover.
Wow.
All right. Now at the list at number 8, we have another conversation that was pending to happen eventually, and it's happening right now. We have Star Wars Jedi of the Republic Mace Windu, issue number 5. The first appearance of Ahsoka Tano in Marvel Comics.
Tom, this is really, really crazy because we know what Ahsoka Tano's first appearance was. And we know that she was out of canon and then back in canon. So the interesting thing is now we have first appearances in Marvel canon, which is different than a first appearance in Dark Horse canon. Is it just because this is more affordable? Is it because the Mace Windu book number 5 was a lower print run than others? It's impressive to watch this, but these Star Wars fans are proving week after week how rabid they are and how intense they're going to be buying any appearances of any of these characters.
I got to know the comic fam's opinion on this because we're seeing $80 average sales and a high sale of $130 for a high-grade raw copy of the first appearance of Ahsoka Tano in Marvel Comics continuity, which is Star Wars continuity. Does it matter, Russ? Because I'm of the opinion that canon keys do matter.
Oh, absolutely, Tom. And this is really, really uncharted waters because as long as we had the Dark Horse stuff, it was fairly self-contained. Now people are reaching back in the recent Marvel history to try and find the stuff that they missed. We're already, again, in the last few weeks, Grand Admiral Thrawn, more Mace Windu, Kanan the Last Padawan, and obviously Dr. Aphra. All of these characters are happening, and the Star Wars fans are just willing to spend the money on them.
We're seeing a percentage of increase in copies sold of 127%. So clearly members of the community are actively hunting for keys in the Star Wars continuity that haven't been considered until recently, especially considering that Ahsoka Tano's first appearance in the Dark Horse run has outpriced itself over and over again quite some time ago. And case in point, take a look at the John Tyler Christopher action figure variant of this very issue, hitting $220 average sales.
A repeat offender on the list this week, number 7, Department of Truth number 1. Now, this book is selling solidly for $15 with a $92 high sale in a CGC 9.8. This book has a lot of secrets surrounding it.
A 258% increase in copies sold. I'm hearing a lot of conversations about Department of Truth. Really, I'm hearing about this comic book as much as I'm hearing about some of Donny Cates' comic books that are even on this very list. I want to know what the community thinks, because the synopsis of what if every conspiracy theory was made to be true is a little off. I think a better synopsis would be, what if you could make every conspiracy theory true? And I'm digging this run by James Tynion IV, and I think there's some spec value in some of the variants as well.
That's right, Tom. And you know what? I'm a massive fan of Peach Momoko, and I really do love her variants for this. But they did a really interesting thing about the numbers of her variants. Now, you would normally expect the trade dress one to be the highest print. Well, this one only has a print run of 100, whereas the sketch variant is 250, and the Virgin one actually only has 400, but it's the highest printed of her art. So go searching. These are out there and they are going up quickly.
We have one of the hottest titles tied to one of the biggest writers in comics right now, with one of the hottest, now Marvel exclusive cover artists doing variant covers that are under a 500 print count. That Key Collector Comics has already stated that there was a insider leak, that there was a bidding war that has ended with A-list actors attached already. Comic fam, do you need any other reason to consider these particular books and to download the best comic app in the world? Utilize the code TOM101. Do yourself a favor, get access to a wealth of comic book knowledge, but it'll also unlock the ability to get key alerts, notifications that are worth your time to consider, just like the news that broke for this comic book, which got so many members of the community ahead of the curve.
Number 6 on the list, Cobra Kai, the Karate Kid saga continues. Number 1, selling consistently for $15 with a high sale of a CGC 9.8 for $70. This is a very, very popular Netflix series, and they just wrapped up season 3 with a good lead-in to season 4.
With the ending of season 3 and the future looking promising for our Karate Kids and adults, we have a 150% increase in copies sold over a book that we were actually chatting about, I don't know, around this time last year, when the series officially moved from YouTube, because that's actually where the story continued first, and then was acquired by Netflix, that was then repopularized, which spiked the comic as well as interest at large around the country.
Well, Tom, you don't have to sweep my leg to convince me that this book is here to stay and this Netflix series is going to continue to go. A lot of these actors are coming out of the woodworks, and we haven't seen them since movie 1, 2, or 3, and they're reveling in being in this Netflix series.
I think there's some spec tips to be learned from this comic book in particular, because issue 1, seeing a $15 height, tells me that now that it's back on the trending list, this probably wasn't worth a lot of money being put down, because it didn't exceed what it did originally when it popped the first time last year. However, we did point out that 1 in 25, what did I call it? The MCR Black Parade variant, the homage to the skeleton scene from the first movie. Well, I pointed out that right there is just a perfect storm. You know, you have a great cover, a low printing, and an issue 1 that's cover A isn't selling for very high numbers. Well, at that time, it was selling for under $100. And have you seen average prices recently, Russ?
Tom, this thing is hitting almost $300 right now, and I am so shocked at how much this book is selling for. I'm not that surprised, but truthfully, this just is crazy how expensive this book is.
Comic fam, it's not about buying all of the comics. It's about buying the right ones. Now let's take a look at number 5 on the list because we have a new Wonder Woman from Brazil. We've been waiting for so long. And at the list, she made a cameo appearance in a Batman comic. Yeah, we have Dark Knight's Death Metal issue number 7 hitting $12 average sales and a high sale for a raw copy. This comic just came out for $20.
Now we know that this is the first cameo appearance of Yara Flor and the next Batman, but this book, being that it was coming from DC and there's now only one distributor, Lunar, well, not all of us got all of the books that we ordered. And Lunar is not enforcing street dates. So some of these actually hit the street a whole week before actual release date. So this was peppered throughout, and a lot of the information that had come out at first was a little bit faulty. So it is a cameo appearance of Yara Flor, not her first full appearance.
Comic fam, that's why you have to hit that subscribe button because we're going to let you know about the distribution problems that may cause inflation to happen on comic books. I mean, this may be a key, but when you consider that shops were shorted and will likely get their replacements, it means that this price hike may not be as drastic as it appears out the gate. And now we're at the list at number 4 with a comic book that we have chatted about on the mic quite a bit over the last year, and it's back on it, Truth Red, White, and Black, issue number 1.
Now, this book first came onto a lot of people's radars a couple years ago, but it is back on the list with a 414% of increase copied sold over last week, $15 average sales, and a $229.99 sale of a CGC 9.8.
Now, this comic book is so difficult to secure in high grade. Since we started chatting about it, Russ, I've been on the hunt, and I've actually had a chance of getting some of the reprints and some first prints, but I have never been able to secure a copy that was above a fine in any collection purchase because the paper is so poor and that book was so thick.
Oh, you are correct, Tom. That is a really, really tough book in any grade, but super tough in high grade because, yeah, it's a thick book and it just comes from that era of Marvel books where the paper was just kind of meh.
We know WandaVision's going to be debuting this year, and soon after that ends, we're going to have Falcon and Winter Soldier, and we've been chatting about narratives that are going to focus on the family of our protagonists. And we had Bucky rumors last week. We had Nomad rumors last week. Well, now we are seeing rumors about Carl Lumbly possibly playing Isaiah Bradley, the grandfather of Elijah Bradley, who is a young Avenger who plays Patriot in the pages of Marvel Comics. Now, next-gen heroes have been a primary spec of choice in all of 2020, which is why this is the, 4th or 5th time that this comic has made the trending list in the last 2 years.
Number 3 on the list, Payback's number 1. This book is going for $20, and why? Because there are some characters that show up in crossover number 3 this week. Now, Donny Cates has been dangling a whole bunch of breadcrumbs in front of us for quite some time, but Paybacks is a book that no one cared about for a very, very long time. Crossover, one of those books. A lot of the West Coast people haven't read it yet because we haven't gotten our comics. By the time you're watching this on Saturday, our comics will finally be making their way to the customers, so we still have a lot of people, and we don't know whether this Paybacks book is going to go up even higher as the demand moves its way across the country.
1,300% increase in copies sold. We're not going to get into any reveals because clearly members haven't even gotten a chance to read all of their comics yet. However, this right here is one of those moments where we're seeing comics starting to spike, like way more than they traditionally have. Like Paybacks, you could have gotten issue 1 for $3 back in November. Now, we had chatted back when crossover initially dropped that seeing these types of things may spike some comics, but will they hold value? Will they have long-term spec value? Now, we are seeing the ramifications of that, and although I am super hyped about the last page of crossover number 3, I don't necessarily think that there's spec room on these, and I don't see this being a show anytime soon.
Well, Tom, we also have to keep in mind that a lot of people are talking about crossover number 3, not necessarily because of the inside of the comic, but because of the outside of the comic. Late breaking news that Todd McFarlane was going to do cover number B, and then we found out in the last week that Todd McFarlane actually was going to do 8 different variants, secret variants of the character reading all of the different Image comics. You've got Shadowhawk and Spawn.
With Spawn right behind her is so cool.
Right. Spawn's over her shoulder looking her read Walking Dead. I mean, this is crazy.
You even have a variant of issue 3 being the comic that they're reading, an infinity cover. You know, I love those. But Russ, you were able to find out some information on the foil variant that was largely being discussed and described as a one per store?
Yeah, Tom. So I actually reached out to Diamond this morning because I didn't get the one per store and wanted to know why I didn't get the one per store. I received an email letting me know that the people who ordered more copies of number 3 than number 1 were rewarded. So it wasn't automatic. Your store may not have gotten one. I ordered 12 fewer copies of number 3 than I did of number 1 because the demand went down just a little bit, and that was enough to make sure I didn't get a foil one. So there are many fewer out there than people initially thought.
Now, before we get to our list at number 2, I want to remind the community that you only have about a week left to support what we do here, but also to get your hands on 2 exclusive variants that we're doing in January for our mystery mail call members. We have Eternals number 1 going out to every single person, done by the very talented Lucio Parrillo.
And since we know what big fans you are of Shannon Mayer's art, we got him to do a Buffy the Vampire Slayer cover. Number 20, the first appearance of the New Faith. You're going to get either a trade dress or a virgin.
Comic Fam, link in the description. And let's chat about number 2 on the list, because why is ASM 365 spiking again? We have this black, thick cover with a short preview on the inside and a hologram that is traditionally faded to all hell. Back on the list at number 2 with, what is this? $18 average sales and a high sale for a CGC 9.8 direct market copy going for $260.
Now, Tom, again, this is a thicker book. This is a black cover. It's a little bit condition sensitive, but every single kid I know bought this darn thing. And every time I get a collection in that's from a shop that closed in the 90s, I get a bunch of these. So there are a ton of them out there. But the thing that people have to keep thinking about is the fact that this is the first 5-page preview of Spider-Man 2099, and that's what's driving these sales.
Into the Spider-Verse 2 started production mid-2020, and to get excitement built up, well, they tweeted about 2022 just being a year away because that's when the movie is slated for release. But what fans didn't expect was to see pictures of Spidey 2099 included with the shout out. We have our first confirmation outside of like what we expect to see, like Miles Morales, for the long-awaited sequel to the hit animation movie.
So, Tom, when I saw the post-credit scene of the first Edge of Spider-Verse movie, I was super excited to see Spidey 2099, and the book spiked accordingly. But we weren't 100% certain whether or not we were going to see him again. Well, now, this is as close a confirmation as we've ever gotten. Spidey 2099 in 2022.
To top it off for us, do you know who did the voiceover for that post-credit scene of Spidey 2099?
No, not a clue.
Dude, it was Oscar Isaacs.
Are you kidding me?
Dude, this guy does everything. We're hearing Moon Knight rumors this week, and now we're seeing him attached to doing the voice of 2099 permanently. What is going on?
It's
Comic
crazy.
Fam, hit the subscribe button. We are talking about the number 1 trending comic book of the week. It just came out. We have some things to talk about. We have Star Wars: The High Republic, issue number 1.
Wow, Tom. Star Wars High Republic issue number 1. We knew there was buzz. We knew it was going to be absolutely crazy. But this crazy? No, not even close. I mean, covers A, B, and C that were all open to order. We were seeing $15 for the main cover, $20 for the B cover, and the C cover, the Stephanie Hans cover with Yoda looking all badass, yeah, selling for $30 to $40 right now. And you know what? That's more than the 1 in 10 design variant. That is insane.
We see multiple first appearances of not only Jedi, but Jedi Masters, as well as a team appearance of the Grand Masters of the Jedi Order. And this right here is Star Wars Spec that is really open to a general audience. You don't need to be a Star Wars diehard, do you, Russ? Because this narrative takes place so much farther back that it is an open slate for Marvel to just play with.
It really, really is. And people have been talking for years that C-3PO is kind of the one that was the Anakin built him and he's all the way until the end arc. But keep in mind, Yoda is 900 years old when he passes away. So we really do have a lot of time to be able to have these human-style characters coming in from era to era to era. And Yoda gets to train a lot of them.
Not to mention that there is a High Republic animation series that is possibly in the works. Rumors that are circulating. Comic Fam, what do you think about this? What do you think about these sales hitting $15 on average, considering what we just told you, that as much as half the country didn't even receive their copies yet? Like, I understand the keywordiness, I understand the Star Wars hype, but there is this layer of inflation that may be causing this book to spike higher than it should be. What do you think in the comment section below to enter you to win this sketch variant of TMNT 109 done by John Boy Myers? And as always,
you gotta geek responsibly.
Enough said. We got other videos for you to check out, Comic Fam. They're right there. We made them for you, and have a great weekend.